If you're passionate about human rights, if you're passionate about gender equality, if you're passionate about the future of humanity, and if you're passionate about addressing the challenges that we face, then please consider being a part of Women's Intercultural Network. We see ourselves as not an organization that networks, but a network that organizes.
I'm Gail James. I'm proud to say I'm a founding member of the Women's Intercultural Board. I first met Marilyn Fowler in 1976 when we were working on a women's project for the bicentennial celebrations. By 1994, Marilyn recognized the need to create an alignment between local needs and global needs. We looked around for an international conference, and Marilyn found one, Women in Development, and she managed to create 12 women who wanted to go to an international conference where WIN, Women's Intercultural Network, was born.
Women's Intercultural Network was established in 1994 and incorporated as a nonprofit organization with consultative status with United Nations. And the mission of WIN is to assure that women and girls are participating in public forum in their government and economies, not only in the United States, but globally. So since Beijing Women Conference, every year we've been attending all the Commission on the Status of Women NGO forum in United Nations.
My name is Marjan. I'm from Iran. So I was a delegate to UN this year. I am grateful from Women Intercultural Networking to give me this opportunity to serve as a delegate at the United Nations. I'm telling everybody that it was like my Disneyland. That was the best experience. Thank you.
My name is Kaden Choi. I'm a high school student in Orange County. I'm 15 years old. As a youth delegate to the UN with Women's Intercultural Network, that was honestly the best experience of my whole life. Being able to be exposed to those formal discussions, which was so incredible, and we had a conference room and I was the only young person there, and I never felt that my voice wasn't being heard, or I never felt that I wasn't equal to.
My name is June Marie Justice, and I've been a part of Women's Intercultural Network and been serving as a delegate to the UN for Women's Intercultural Network for about 15 years. In 2015, when I was serving as a delegate to the UN Commission on the Status of Women, there was an organization there and they had delegates who had come from Mali. And it was one of the times when I really recognized the connection between policy and the implication in the day-to-day lives of women. And it was at that commission that it was announced that Mali had just abolished child marriage. And that progress was made as a direct result of their adoption of CEDAW.
The history of CEDAW is almost 45 years that CEDAW was presented. United States signed CEDAW during the Carter administration, but never ratified it.
The US is the only country in the Western nation that hasn't ratified CEDAW. I was honestly shocked to find that out because in the US, I think women's rights are the most prominent that they've ever been.
My name is Parisa Ijadi Maksudi, and I'm a poverty and civil rights attorney. For the last 15 years of practicing poverty and civil rights law, I have come to understand firsthand how poverty and discrimination disproportionately adversely affects women, which is why I'm so dedicated to the work that Cities for CEDAW and WIN do on a day-to-day basis.
Women's rights activists all around the world are very familiar with CEDAW. Unfortunately, in the United States, women are not as familiar with it. So CEDAW is something that WIN has taken under their purview to educate local communities and to inform policies and coalitions and how they can advance gender equity at the local level.
So what is CEDAW? CEDAW is the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women. And so what this does is it allows local jurisdictions to administer their programs and services in a manner that allows them to identify, analyze, and eradicate barriers to intersectional gender justice.
Since 2014, Women's Intercultural Network has been a steward of the Cities for CEDAW campaign. As a part of that project, Women's Intercultural Network has been collecting data from cities around the United States and even some cities internationally who have adopted ordinances or local measures, whether they're resolutions or binding ordinances, to support CEDAW at the grassroots level.
So the importance of data cannot be understated. In my experience, I've personally had the privilege of working with data experts to use data to demonstrate and ensuring that there's equal access to opportunity for all residents of a jurisdiction, regardless of race, regardless of immigration status, regardless of gender.
Cities for CEDAW was implemented first at a grassroots level, which I think is important because in a lot of ways you can't reach young girls and young women if you're just putting everything out there globally. So I always try to say, think globally, but act locally, which is something that I'm trying to do in my own community.
WIN Cities for CEDAW movement have been pivotal in advancing and asserting the rights of women and girls in the region where I work, in San Diego County. As a commissioner, I took the lead on helping our county adopt an ordinance embodying the principles of CEDAW. And along with that work came assistance from a network of leaders across the United States, members of WIN and members of the Cities for CEDAW movement, who not only assisted in the drafting of the ordinance, but also assisted in educating our community, including our leaders.
I think educating young girls who even have educational access, who have access to certain things that women in other countries do not, I think even educating those girls in the US about women's rights is important, just to be able to rally that force behind young girls and young women and to be able to empower one another, because I'm also, as a part of the United Nations Association, I talk a lot about the Sustainable Development Goals, and number 17 is building connections. And I think if you don't connect with other people who have the same passions as you in women's rights, then you aren't going anywhere.
After Beijing Women Conference, the board of Women's Intercultural Network was thinking to connect with women in other parts of the world. One of the initiatives also of Women's Intercultural Network was to create circle to exchange information for empowering women and girls in both here and in the respective country. So the first circle was with women in Japan, focusing on comfort women during the Second World War. The second circle was with women in Uganda, that a delegation of Women's Intercultural Network went to Uganda, and subsequently we invited a delegation of Ugandan women to come to California and just experience talking to NGOs, to the establishment, to women's shelter, and all the agencies that we have for women's rights and dignity. The third circle was with women in Afghanistan after Taliban was ousted and the government of Karzai was established in May of that year. A delegation of Women's Intercultural Network, which I was part of it, we went to Kabul in Afghanistan, and we stayed there 3 weeks. And we were trying to understand in what ways we can support the plight of women in Afghanistan for gender equality and empowerment. The fourth circle was for Iranian women, that not only with women inside Iran, but Iranian women in diaspora, particularly Iranian women in California. Also, we have Indigenous Women's Circle as part of Women's Intercultural Network.
WIN has grown itself in its interests. One of our early connections was with the indigenous community in California through Charlie Toledo, a president of the Susquehanna Tribal Nation. And so she really brought indigenous interests to WIN, and WIN has created the Indigenous Circle, which has now evolved into climate and environmental issues, social justice and the environment work, and is doing wonderful work on new thinking about and solutions for our climate crisis. And so WIN became famous for that concept of circles.
We're hoping that we expand the concept of circles to other countries, and the two countries that I'm hopeful that going to be our next two circles is a circle with women in Kenya and Nepal.
So our circles are a part of a broader umbrella, and that broader umbrella is WIN. And WIN has reach globally and its context locally. We respect that the work that's happening that's proximate to the ground is where the richness of solutions is going to be harvested. Women who are at the center of the most horrendous trauma are the most likely to know intuitively what the solutions are. They just need to be resourced. Women's Intercultural Network is a bridge between women across geographies and across issues.
We're planning to increase our circles, to look to young women to take our places as we all go forward. And as we carry the torch Marilyn Fowler passed on to us, we are also looking to pass those torches, Women's Intercultural Network, on to young women of our times into the future.
If you are interested in advancing and asserting the rights of women and girls, and you've been told to stay in your own lane, you've been asked why the urgency, you've been told to wait your turn, this movement is for you.
I heartily encourage girls to join Women's Intercultural Network. It's in the name to network with one another, and here you'll find so many people, all walks of life, who are passionate about the same things.
Support group that we have here in WIN, that's perfect too. It doesn't matter where you are from, what you do for your job, and where you are at your life.
If you're a women's rights advocate and you're a feminist, and you're a leader in an organization that has feminist values and believes truly that all human beings are created equal, we want you on our team. We want you to be a part of Women's Intercultural Network.
We encourage you to join Women Intercultural Network.
Join us.